Imagine closing your eyes and drifting back in time. Not hundreds of years, not even thousands, but hundreds of millions of years. A time when the ground trembled not because of cities or machines, but because creatures larger than buses walked across primeval forests. The air was warmer, thicker, carrying the distant calls of reptiles so massive that their very existence feels like myth today. This was the Age of Dinosaurs. Welcome to the Sleepy Minds, where we unravel the hidden stories of science, history, and the universe in a calm and immersive way. Tonight, let's step softly into the prehistoric past to explore how these incredible creatures rose, dominated, and then disappeared, leaving behind clues scattered across the earth like whispers of an ancient world. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing in a dense, swampy forest. Towering ferns surround you, their fronds reaching higher than most trees today. The air is humid, and strange insects buzz with sounds unfamiliar to modern ears. Suddenly, the ground vibrates beneath your feet. Emerging from the mist is a creature unlike anything we know. A long-necked sauropod, stretching dozens of feet into the air, slowly moving through the greenery like a living skyscraper. This was their world, and we are only visitors, piecing together the fragments of their reign. The rise of dinosaurs did not happen overnight. Their story begins long before they became the rulers of Earth. Around 250 million years ago, during the Triassic period, the world was recovering from the most devastating mass extinction in history. Almost 90% of life had vanished, leaving behind a scarred and empty planet. Yet, in this emptiness, opportunity was born. Tiny reptilian creatures began to experiment with new ways of living, moving, and surviving. From these humble beginnings would emerge the most iconic animals the Earth has ever known. At first, dinosaurs were not giants. They were small, quick, and unremarkable compared to the massive reptiles already dominating the Triassic swamps. But they carried within them subtle advantages. Their legs were positioned directly beneath their bodies, allowing them to run faster and support greater weight. Their breathing system was more efficient, pulling oxygen deep into their lungs. These small edges would, over millions of years, tilt the balance of power in their favor. Picture a predator stalking through the undergrowth of this ancient world. It's not a Tyrannosaurus yet, that would come much later, but something smaller, more agile, with sharp teeth and quick reflexes. These early carnivorous dinosaurs learned how to outmaneuver their competition, slowly pushing other reptiles to the margins. Survival was never guaranteed, but adaptation was everything. And the dinosaurs adapted brilliantly. As the Triassic faded into the Jurassic period, the Earth itself began to change. The giant supercontinent Pangaea started to split, creating new coastlines, climates, and habitats. With these shifts came an explosion of diversity. Dinosaurs grew larger, stronger, and more specialized. Some developed enormous necks to reach treetops untouched by others. Some became armored, covering themselves in plates and spikes to fend off predators. Others evolved sharp claws, serrated teeth, and incredible speed to hunt effectively. Now imagine walking into a Jurassic Valley. You hear the low rumble of massive footsteps before you see them. Then, breaking through the trees, a herd of Brachiosaurus, creatures so tall their heads sway above the forest canopy. Their long necks stretch gracefully, pulling leaves from branches no other animal could touch. For millions of years, Scenes like this played out daily across vast landscapes. Dinosaurs were no longer just survivors. They had become architects of ecosystems, shaping the world in ways still visible today. But not every dinosaur lived in peace. Where there were giants, there were also hunters. Picture a pack of Allosaurus, stalking silently, their eyes fixed on a slower or weaker member of the herd. The balance of predator and prey was delicate, constantly shifting, but it drove evolution forward. For every new defense, there was a counterattack. For every towering herbivore, there was a swift carnivore. This endless arms race carved the path of dinosaur history. What's fascinating is how different dinosaurs were from one another. Some were colossal, weighing tens of tons, yet surviving on nothing but plants. Others were small, fast, and feathered, darting between trees in search of insects. Dinosaurs were not a single type of creature. They were a sprawling, dynamic family, constantly diversifying and experimenting with form. They were nature's grandest experiment in survival. And perhaps the most surprising thing? Dinosaurs never truly left us. Every bird you see today is, in fact, a living dinosaur, a direct descendant of those ancient survivors. When you listen to a bird's call at dawn, you are, in a way, hearing an echo of a world 100 million years gone. But before we reach the part of the story where dinosaurs give rise to birds, we must first understand their golden age, the period when they were the undisputed rulers of the planet. From the smallest raptors to the largest sauropods, dinosaurs shaped Earth's landscapes, influenced its climates, and left an imprint so vast that even now, millions of years later, we are still uncovering their secrets. Fossils are our time machines. Each bone, each footprint, each fossilized egg is a fragment of a forgotten puzzle. Paleontologists spend lifetimes piecing these fragments together, reconstructing not only the bodies of these magnificent animals, but their behaviors, environments, and even social lives. Did sauropods travel in herds like elephants? Did raptors hunt cooperatively like wolves? The answers lie buried beneath layers of rock, waiting for discovery. The beauty of science is not just in the answers it provides, but in the questions it raises. The story of dinosaurs reminds us that life is fragile, adaptable, and endlessly creative. It shows us that even in the face of unimaginable catastrophe, new beginnings are always possible. And as we continue this journey tonight on the Sleepy Minds, we'll dive deeper into how these creatures thrived, how they evolved, and ultimately, how they vanished in one of the most mysterious events in Earth's history. So, let your mind drift as we step further into the shadows of time, where the giants of the past still walk, waiting to share their story as we continue our quiet journey into the past. Imagine a landscape stretching endlessly before your eyes. The air is warm, filled with a thick humidity, and the earth beneath your feet vibrates with life. Towering conifers cast their long shadows, ferns rise like living carpets, and the sounds of strange creatures echo across a world unlike anything we know today. This is the stage on which dinosaurs rose, thrived, and eventually ruled. A planet alive with mystery, beauty, and constant change. It is tempting to think of dinosaurs as a single kind of creature, giant lizards roaming endlessly in herds, but in truth, they were an astonishingly diverse family. From the feathered, bird-like velociraptor to the colossal, long-necked brachiosaurus, their forms were as varied as the habitats they lived in. Some grazed peacefully, reaching for leaves high above the ground, while others stalked the forests with sharp claws and teeth designed for pursuit and precision. Dinosaurs weren't just survivors. They were innovators of nature's grand experiment. Picture for a moment the mighty sauropods, stretching their necks toward treetops that scraped the sky. They were not only the largest animals ever to walk on land, but also living engines of ecology, shaping forests by what they consumed. Every bite, every step, changed the landscape, opening paths for new growth and new creatures. Around them, herds of smaller herbivores moved together, grazing in patterns that echoed the rhythm of the earth itself. Predators watched silently, blending with the shadows, waiting for a chance to strike. Life here was not only abundant but deeply interconnected. A delicate balance of predator and prey, plant and consumer, survival and adaptation. But what truly set dinosaurs apart wasn't just their size. It was their ability to adapt. Some grew feathers not for flight at first, but for warmth and display. Others developed horns, crests, and frills, not only as weapons of defense but as tools for communication, attracting mates, or signaling strength. The diversity of their designs reveals a world where evolution was endlessly experimenting, sculpting bodies suited for every possible niche. Each dinosaur was like a living answer to a question posed by the environment, a shape born from struggle, survival, and sometimes sheer chance. The world they lived in was far from stable. Volcanic eruptions painted skies with fire and ash. Continents shifted, seas advanced and retreated, and climates swung between extremes of heat and cold. Through all of this, dinosaurs endured. Their resilience was extraordinary. Where other creatures faltered, dinosaurs adapted, evolving in step with a restless planet. This was not a world of comfort, but a world that demanded constant change, and dinosaurs met that demand with remarkable success. Think of a warm, late Jurassic evening. The sun sets in a blaze of orange and red. Herds of stegosaurs move slowly across open plains, their plates catching the fading light like natural armor glowing against the horizon. In the distance, a predator lurks, its eyes locked onto the weakest among them. Every step it takes is calculated, every muscle coiled with tension. And yet, even as it stalks, the air is alive with the calls of other creatures, each playing its part in the orchestra of existence. From the buzzing insects to the winged pterosaurs gliding gracefully overhead, life was everywhere, filling every possible corner. This was not just a story of giants. Many dinosaurs were small, delicate, and hidden from plain sight. Some could dart between ferns, leap into trees, or burrow beneath the ground. They remind us that survival was never just about strength, but also about cleverness and adaptation. Every niche had its specialist, every environment its ruler. Together, they created ecosystems as rich and vibrant as any coral reef or rainforest today. And yet, for all their differences, dinosaurs shared one common trait. They endured for an astonishingly long time. To put it in perspective, humans as we know them have existed for only a blink of geological history, just a few 100,000 years. Dinosaurs, however, reigned for over 160 million years. That is a time span almost impossible to grasp. Empires rose and fell, continents moved, oceans reshaped, and through it all, dinosaurs walked the earth. When you think about this, the scale of their existence becomes almost humbling. They were not a fleeting experiment of nature, but one of its greatest successes. They survived disaster after disaster, adapted to new climates, and evolved into forms so varied that they seem almost impossible to belong to one group. Dinosaurs didn't just live in the past, they defined the sleepy minds. Our journey is not about rushing through these facts, but about pausing to imagine them fully. To sit quietly with the thought that for millions upon millions of years, dinosaurs were the heartbeat of this planet. Every sunrise over their world marked another chapter in a story far longer than our own. Every shadow they cast across the earth was part of a legacy we are only beginning to piece together. And even though their world is long gone, traces of it still whisper around us today. In the stones beneath our feet, in the fossils carefully preserved, in the birds that sing outside our windows. The age of dinosaurs may have ended, but their story continues, woven into the very fabric of life that surrounds you. So as we continue this journey, allow yourself to feel the weight of time. Close your eyes, if you wish, and imagine the ground trembling beneath the feet of a herd of giants. Hear the rustle of ferns as smaller creatures dash into cover. Picture the sky darkening as a storm brews over a prehistoric horizon. The past is not gone. It waits, patiently, to be remembered. And tonight, as you rest, let your mind drift into that distant world, where every breath carried the scent of ancient forests, and every sound told the story of survival. A world where dinosaurs ruled not by chance, but by resilience and adaptation. Their story is not just history. It is a lesson about endurance, about the beauty of diversity, and about the ever-changing dance between life and the planet it calls home. When we left off, the dinosaurs had already begun their incredible rise. They were spreading into forests, swamps, and open plains, shaping ecosystems and growing more specialized with each passing generation. But the story of dinosaurs is not simply about size and dominance. It's also about adaptation, about how these creatures found ways to thrive in almost every corner of the earth. And as we wander deeper into their world, the picture grows even richer. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a lush Jurassic Valley. Giant conifer trees stretch skyward, their crowns forming a canopy of green. Beneath them, ferns and cycads carpet the ground, filling the air with the smell of resin and damp earth. From the shadows, a herd of long-necked sauropods emerges, their necks rising like living towers, swaying gently as they strip leaves from the treetops. Each step shakes the ground. These were some of the largest creatures ever to walk the planet, animals like Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus. To stand near one would have been to feel small in a way words can hardly capture. But it wasn't just the giants who ruled these lands. Smaller, nimbler dinosaurs were thriving too, darting between the legs of their towering cousins, scavenging fallen fruits, or stalking insects. Predators, of course, were never far away. Allosaurus, with its sharp teeth and strong legs, prowled through forests and plains alike, capable of bringing down prey far larger than itself. The balance of predator and prey was delicate, but it worked. Millions of years of evolution had tuned these ecosystems into something astonishingly complex. And while the dinosaurs dominated the land, the skies and seas told stories of their own. Flying reptiles known as pterosaurs soared overhead, their wings catching the thermals, their cries echoing through prehistoric skies. In the oceans swam marine reptiles, ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and mosasaurs, that looked more like creatures from mythology than from nature. This was a time when Earth was brimming with experiments in life, each form pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The question, of course, is, why were dinosaurs so successful? What allowed them to thrive for so long? Part of the answer lies in their anatomy. Their legs were positioned directly beneath their bodies, unlike many reptiles, giving them speed and endurance. Their lungs were efficient, possibly more like those of modern birds than those of lizards. And then there was their ability to adapt. Some grew larger, others smaller. Some became armored, others sprouted crests, horns, and frills. Evolution kept shaping and reshaping them into a dazzling array of forms. And in the middle of this story comes one of the most fascinating chapters: the rise of feathered dinosaurs. Not all dinosaurs were scaly and reptilian in appearance. Some were cloaked in soft, delicate feathers, which may have first served as insulation, keeping them warm. Later, feathers became tools of display, flashing colors to attract mates or intimidate rivals. And eventually, feathers gave rise to flight itself. The first true birds, like Archaeopteryx, fluttered uncertainly through the forests, halfway between worlds, part dinosaur, part bird. To us, it may seem strange to imagine dinosaurs covered in plumage, but to them it was simply another step in survival. This is where our modern understanding of dinosaurs shifts. For a long time, people imagined them as slow, lumbering giants. But the evidence tells a different story. They were vibrant, dynamic, and often swift. Some were hunters that could sprint after prey. Others were agile tree-dwellers. The earth they ruled was not a static backdrop but a living, breathing stage, constantly reshaped by shifting continents, rising mountains, and changing climates. Yet even in their dominance, dinosaurs faced challenges. Periods of drought sometimes swept across regions, forcing herds to migrate or perish. Volcanic activity reshaped landscapes, releasing ash and gases that darkened skies. Predators and prey were in a never-ending arms race, each adapting to outwit the other. Life was not easy even for the rulers of the earth. But perhaps what makes this era so mesmerizing is its sheer scale and time. For us, a human lifetime feels long. For dinosaurs, entire species could dominate for millions of years, only to vanish and make room for new forms. Imagine that, a single species of dinosaur living longer than all of recorded human history. And yet, for them, it was simply the rhythm of existence. As we continue to wander through this world, one thing becomes clear: dinosaurs were not a single moment in history. They were a dynasty, one that lasted for more than 160 million years. They evolved, diversified, and thrived in ways no other group of land animals ever has. From the towering sauropods to the bird-like hunters, they were living proof of nature's endless creativity. And while we know where this story ultimately leads, the great extinction at the end of the Cretaceous, it's important to pause here, in this middle chapter, and appreciate the height of their reign. This was a time when Earth was truly theirs, when every continent bore their mark, when their shadows stretched long across plains and forests. Even now, as we uncover fossils from deserts and cliffs, we are piecing together this lost age. Each bone, each footprint, is a fragment of a world that once was. And with every discovery, the picture grows clearer. Dinosaurs were not just ancient reptiles. They were innovators, survivors, and, in many ways, ancestors to the life we know today. So let us stay here a little longer, in the heart of their reign. Listen to the distant calls of sauropods echoing through valleys. Feel the ground tremble under the march of a herd. Glimpse the flash of feathers in the forest canopy. For in these moments, the dinosaurs are not gone. They live again in our imagination, in our science, and in the echoes of the earth itself. This is the story we tell at the Sleepy Minds. Not just facts, but worlds reborn in thought and sound. And as we drift through the age of dinosaurs, there is still so much more to uncover. Because soon, the skies will darken, the earth will shudder, and the greatest dynasty the world has ever known will face its final test. But before that, let's breathe in this world at its peak. Alive, untamed, and beautiful as the timeline of Earth's history continued. Dinosaurs reached a period that can only be described as their golden age. By now, their diversity had exploded, filling every corner of the planet. From the deepest forests to open floodplains, from warm coastal lagoons to dry deserts, dinosaurs had carved out niches that made them the dominant rulers of the Mesozoic world. This era is often called the Age of Giants, because it gave rise to some of the largest creatures to ever walk the earth. It's here that we find the sauropods, massive, long-necked dinosaurs whose size defies imagination. Picture one of these colossal animals, its neck stretching like a living crane, high above the trees, plucking leaves that no other animal could reach. Species like Argentinosaurus and Brachiosaurus grew so large that their very footsteps shook the ground. To put it in perspective, Argentinosaurus may have weighed as much as 10 elephants combined. Their presence alone tells us that Earth's ecosystems were capable of supporting creatures on a truly epic scale. But with size came incredible adaptations. Sauropods had to develop lightweight skeletons, filled with air sacs, to reduce the weight of their immense bodies. Their long necks weren't just for feeding high up. They allowed these giants to graze wide areas without moving their massive frames too much, conserving precious energy. And their long tails, balancing their enormous bodies, could be snapped like whips, perhaps as defense against predators or communication with others of their kind. Yet sauropods weren't the only giants. On the other end of the spectrum were the apex predators, theropods like Giganotosaurus and the later Tyrannosaurus rex. These hunters commanded the food chains of their time, each step echoing the primal power of evolution. Just as sauropods pushed size to one extreme, theropods pushed predation to the other. They evolved powerful jaws, razor-sharp teeth, and keen senses to track and overwhelm prey. But perhaps most fascinating of all is how these giants lived together in balance. Forests teemed with herds of herbivores, from horned ceratopsians to plated stegosaurs. The presence of so many plant-eaters supported the rise of formidable predators, each perfectly adapted to the challenges of hunting such prey. It was a delicate dance, an ecosystem that functioned like an ancient symphony, with every species playing its part. The landscapes they roamed were equally remarkable. Imagine vast floodplains stretching to the horizon, punctuated by giant conifers, cycads, and ferns. The air was warm, humid, and rich with life. Rivers carved paths through these fertile lands, offering water and gathering places for countless species. Volcanic activity often reshaped the land, creating new opportunities for life to thrive. This was Earth in motion, constantly shifting and evolving, yet always offering a stage for dinosaurs to grow and adapt. But living in such a world wasn't without challenges. Predation, competition for food, and harsh climates all tested the resilience of dinosaurs. Some species developed armor, like the ankylosaurs, whose bodies were covered in bony plates and equipped with massive tail clubs, ready to defend against attackers. Others evolved elaborate crests, horns, and frills, not just for defense, but likely for communication and mating displays. These adaptations remind us that evolution isn't random. It's a story of survival, of shaping life to meet the demands of a changing world. And while dinosaurs dominated, they weren't alone. Flying reptiles, pterosaurs ruled the skies, while early mammals continued to live in the shadows. Tiny, nocturnal, and mostly insect-eating, these mammals were far from the giants that would one day inherit the earth. Yet even here, we see the quiet persistence of life, adapting and waiting for its chance. This age of giants also gave rise to some of the most mysterious behaviors. Fossil evidence suggests that many dinosaurs lived in herds, migrating across great distances in search of food and water. Footprint trails, preserved in stone, show groups moving together, young and old side by side. Some species may have cared for their young in ways surprisingly similar to modern birds, building nests, protecting eggs, and nurturing hatchlings. These glimpses into their lives transform dinosaurs from static skeletons into dynamic, living beings, full of complexity and social bonds. If you stood on Earth during this time, you would witness a planet alive with sound, movement, and energy. The calls of giant animals echoing through the forests, the rustling of herds moving across plains, the thunder of predators in pursuit. All of it a reminder of nature's raw power and beauty. It was a time when Earth felt almost larger than life itself, shaped by creatures that still capture our imagination millions of years later. Here at the Sleepy Mines, we journey through these prehistoric landscapes not just to learn about bones and fossils, but to connect with the living world that once was. Each fossil is a page in Earth's diary, telling us about creatures that ruled for over 150 million years. And when we read these pages carefully, we begin to understand not only the story of dinosaurs, but also the resilience and creativity of life itself. The Age of Giants shows us that evolution is capable of producing life forms that stretch the very limits of possibility. It challenges us to imagine what life could look like in other times, or even on other worlds. And most importantly, it reminds us that dominance, no matter how complete, is always temporary. Because even as dinosaurs thrived, the seeds of change were being sown. New species were emerging, climates were shifting, and the balance of ecosystems was subtly tilting. The golden age of dinosaurs was magnificent, but like all chapters in Earth's story, it would not last forever. As we move forward, we'll uncover the challenges that began to reshape their world, the gradual shifts that would lead eventually to one of the greatest extinctions in history. But for now, the Age of Giants stands as a testament to the boundless creativity of life, a time when Earth's stage was filled with creatures so astonishing that they continue to inspire awe in us today. The end of the dinosaurs did not come suddenly, at least not at first. Long before the skies darkened and the fireball tore through the atmosphere, the Earth was already whispering signs of change. Volcanic eruptions in what we now call the Deccan Traps released immense clouds of gas into the air, altering climates and seasons. Some regions experienced cooling, others, heavy rainfall and shifting coastlines. Ecosystems that had remained balanced for millions of years began to show cracks. Certain plant species declined, herbivores struggled, and the predators that depended on them faced silent starvation. The mighty reign of the dinosaurs was wobbling, even before the final blow arrived. Then, 66 million years ago, the sky lit up with unimaginable fury. A rock more than 10 kilometers wide, traveling faster than any bullet, slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula in present-day Mexico. The energy released in that single moment was greater than all the nuclear weapons humanity has ever created, combined. Forests were incinerated instantly. Shockwaves circled the globe. Megatsunamis swept across oceans. And within hours the dinosaurs whirled. Their vast jungles, their herds, their nests, their roars, was silenced by fire and ash. But extinction is not just about death. It is also about what comes after. In the darkness that followed, mammals, once small and timid, emerged into spaces once dominated by reptiles. Tiny shrew-like creatures ventured into the open, feeding on seeds and insects that survived. With the dinosaurs gone, the stage of evolution was wiped clean, ready for new actors. And from those survivors came a chain of life that eventually gave rise to us. It is humbling to think that without the fall of the dinosaurs, humanity itself might never have existed. Their end was our beginning. In a way, every heartbeat we feel carries a shadow of their story. The world we walk through, the forests, the plains, the skies, was shaped by their disappearance. Extinction carved a path for new life, and in that silence, evolution wrote an entirely new script. Yet, the dinosaurs are not completely gone. Look outside your window, and you may hear them singing. Birds, the delicate creatures that flutter in the air, are direct descendants of the dinosaurs. Every sparrow, every eagle, every hummingbird carries in its bones the legacy of their ancient ancestors. The scales became feathers, the roars became songs, and the earthbound reptiles became masters of the skies. The age of dinosaurs never truly ended. It simply changed form. When we look back at them, we are not just peering into a lost world, we are peering into the very roots of our own existence. The dinosaurs teach us that life is both fragile and resilient. They show us how power can fade in an instant, how even the mightiest rulers can vanish, and yet, how life always finds a way forward. Their story is not one of failure, but of transformation. And perhaps that is why we find them so captivating. Dinosaurs remind us of deep time, of an Earth that is far older and stranger than we can imagine. They are a mirror reflecting both our own vulnerability and our connection to everything that came before us. To think of them is to feel the weight of history, the beauty of evolution, and the endless cycles of rise and fall that define life on this planet. So, as this journey comes to a close, take a moment to reflect on what you've just experienced. You've walked alongside giants. You've seen the lush worlds they ruled, felt the tremors of their footsteps, and witnessed the moment of their fall. And through it all, you've glimpsed the extraordinary truth that their story is also our story. Here, on the Sleepy Minds, we believe stories like these matter. They connect us to the mysteries of our universe. They calm the restless mind, and they invite us to dream of worlds both past and yet to come. If this journey through the rise and fall of dinosaurs has brought you wonder, peace, or curiosity, consider joining us for more. A gentle tap on the like button, a quiet subscription to the channel. It may seem small, but it helps keep these stories alive. The Earth is filled with endless tales waiting to be told, from the depths of space to the hidden worlds inside our very bodies. And together we can keep drifting through them, one calm story at a time.